Oh, hello everybody, Adam Monk here from FourFourTwo. If you're wondering why does Adam look like he's got a face like a slapped arse and sounds very solemn, well, I'm a Manchester City fan, and the worst thing happened this week. Well, not the worst thing, that'd be relegation. No, but seriously, on Sunday, every City's fan's worst fear happened as Rodri did his ACL. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? Just play the clip.
This is the one thing we didn't want to happen.
Now, can I just say before we get into the actual video, the fallout from that injury on Twitter, or X now, has been like nothing I've ever seen from Arsenal fans. The fact that a centre defensive mid has got the whole of football Twitter this shook, people celebrating his injury, making jokes about it, etc, etc. Don't get me wrong, some of them have been quite funny but distasteful, but all I'm saying is, like, has a central defensive midfielder ever had a fan base as shook or relieved as that when they've got injured? I've not seen something bad that's happened to a person celebrated like that since maybe Margaret Thatcher. And I really don't know what that says about Rodri, either that he's the best in his position in the world or he steals 𝗕𝗓𝗍𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 this is every game that City have played since Rodri signed for the club, 21 without and 174 with, and the win rate plummets, the loss rate increases, the points per match goes down, and the goal difference per match goes down, and that's quite a significant drop as well. So overall, Manchester City Football Club are a worse team when he's not on the pitch, so this is a really, really bad injury for City. Anyway, this is a real crisis, so I'm going to try and tackle it with two possible solutions with all the expertise of Boris Johnson in March 2020. Stop going on about politics. Okay, so disclaimer, both of these solutions are things that he's actually already done, but it's literally all I can think of because Pep's the man who's got to think outside the box. But system number one is actually what he's already done this season. Of course, Pep gave Rodri a massive holiday because he played about 175 games last season, and then the Euros all the way to the final and winning it. So Pep rightfully thought Rodri needed a break, so he sent him off to Disneyland or wherever he wanted to go, and he played 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔 at number 6, starting away at Stamford Bridge. This was a lineup from that game, and you may well remember if any of you watched it, and 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 did a very good video on the certain individual, 𝗕𝗫𝗏, who inverted from right back in this game to sort of create that box midfield and give City a bit of a stranglehold on the game in possession. Now, you might also remember from that game, at points it was rather frenetic and Chelsea did get in behind on instances. It wasn't the most defensively assured Manchester City performance ever, but of course we were fine with it because we thought Rodri was going to return. Now, what 𝗕𝗫𝗏𝗧𝗏, the man that I want to talk about in this instance, does give you from that position is a very good ability to drive with the ball, something that Rodri I don't think has in his locker, or even really 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗠𝗠. He can really carry it across 20 yards better than any City midfielder, bar maybe De Bruyne, and that was exemplified in this game because you'll remember this goal here. He drove from deep, went past Enzo and Caicedo, see you later, and wellied it in. To be fair, Sanchez should have saved it, but he still scored a goal nonetheless, so it does sometimes bear fruit for City, but he's a number 6 who likes to carry the ball into those advanced positions, and that can sometimes leave City susceptible. So I'm going to show you an example of that. This is a goal City conceded last season at Molineux in a game they lost 2-1, a game in which Rodri was suspended, and right there 𝗕𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 is City's lone number 6. Now, City lost the ball with a wayward pass. That can happen. That happens in any game of football, even Pep City. But the problem is here, 𝗘𝗫𝗏𝗧𝗏 as City's lone 6 isn't really positionally set for that turnover of possession that Wolves provide. Pedro Neto is the player that picks up the ball here, and players with running power, I'm going to show you a clip from this season as well shortly, but players with running power are really City's Achilles heel in transition and have been now for a good 18 months. So Pedro Neto bombs it down the byline, and let's just cut to this part now where the cutback is delivered. Look at 𝗘𝗫𝗏𝗧𝗏 trying to track his man. He's not positionally set for that turnover, so he's caught napping and legging it back, doing a bleep test, and that's something that doesn't really happen with Rodri. You never see Rodri stretched, legging it back to track someone from a counter-attack that City have conceded. He's always better positionally set, and that's why he can play that lone 6 role so well. And the standards Rodri is set, you even look at Arsenal, for instance, right? They always have to play a double pivot. Declan Rice likes to drive with the ball. Arteta would never play Rice as a lone 6 because he knows in doing so, Arsenal will get caught on the counter-attack. So it's always a Thomas Partey, a Jorginho playing alongside Rice. There's very, very few players now, and this is testament to Rodri, that can play that lone 6. Yeah, and this is just before the ball goes in, and let's just say that man there has not been tracked very well. Ball goes in the net, 1-0 Wolves. So yeah, that's what City have got to stop now in Rodri's absence, because when Rodri has been absent, City just concede that kind of goal time and time again. Now let me take you to this season. City won this game 3-1 at the London Stadium. Now City here, for context, I couldn't find the clip beforehand, but they've put in a wayward cross. West Ham have turned over the ball and passed it to 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏. Now I know that the picture here is blurry, so let me just skip forward a second. Still a little bit blurry, but nonetheless, the ball's gone into 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏. And looking at all these City players here, I want you to guess how many City players you think are in the defensive positions out of the picture here. The answer's coming in a sec. So 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 here is about to spin De Bruyne. Now, that is 𝗦𝗶𝗴𝗍𝗏 in what you would think is a pretty normal central defensive midfield position. That man there is 𝗦𝗶𝗴𝗍𝗏, City's centre-half. Now, I don't know what Pep was cooking in this game, but he had Akanji playing almost an 8 position when City were in the ball. It was absolutely ludicrous. And you remember how I mentioned Pedro Neto being a powerful runner? Well, Mohamed Kudus, you know this as well, is just that too. So City are going to continue to concede these kind of chances if something is not tweaked. But anyway, here comes the answer. City had one man back, and that man wasn't even a man, he was a child. It's Rico Lewis. This is a 3v1 from a City cross. And again, look at the man who's doing the bleep test. 𝗦𝗶𝗴𝗍𝗏 trying to get back, and Mohamed Kudus should have scored this chance. He hit the upright, and City got away with absolute murder. It was shocking defending, and I don't know how City in this game left themselves so open and susceptible. But that was playing a similar system. Kovacic on paper in that lone 6, Rico Lewis, or in this instance, 𝗦𝗶𝗴𝗍𝗏 inverting from defensive positions. And sometimes City just weren't defensively prepared for the counter-attack when there's a player like 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 who can carry the ball 60, 70 yards. Maybe that's an exaggeration, 40, 50 yards. So yeah, I've said system number 1 as a solution because City actually did win all these games, but it wasn't without a few scares. So what is system number 2 without Rodri, you ask? Well, I think he's going to have to revert to something he did 2 seasons ago when, fortunately, City won the treble. Now, you could say that this team on paper is quite similar to the one I just showed you because Rico Lewis is inverted, but I want to really focus on the wingers in this system, Jack Grealish and Bernardo Silva, because of course City have signed Savinho, who's a lot more direct, two-footed. We know what 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗏 can do as well. These are wingers, the reliance of their whole game is on beating a man, getting to the byline and putting a ball across. It's very individualistic, and in that treble winning season, City were an 11-man unit that were a death by 1,000 passes. They'd always recycle the ball and consequently force teams back and have a bit more of a stranglehold on the game. And then of course they'd have that double pivot always maintained. It used to be John Stones and Rodri, but it might now have to be, I've gone for 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 Gundogan and Rico Lewis as well. I think those two have probably got the most temperament and positional awareness should City be caught on the break. And of course 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗏𝗏's now in this side as well, who's a very pacey defender, so that bodes well. But mainly Jack Grealish and Bernardo Silva need to be in this team now for me to stop City conceding so many counter-attacks. Now let me take you to the best Manchester City game I have ever witnessed, and that was Manchester City 4, Real Madrid 0 in the 22-23 treble winning season. The best performance I've ever seen from a Pep side at City. Now we're just going to ignore the fact that Rodri played in this game because he's pretty much played in every game for the last 3 years, and I really want to focus on how the wingers pressed in this system to make it work, and it didn't really involve Rodri because City was so front-footed in this game. So usually what City are doing against ordinary opposition is press with Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, but they didn't do this in this game because it would have created a 3-man midfield for Los Blancos. Instead, they pull Grealish out from a wide position to press from the front. Then De Bruyne would drop into that number 6, which was Toni Kroos on the day. So what would happen then is Gundogan would pin Valverde and Rodri would deal with the 58-year-old Luka Modric, forcing Real Madrid to really go wide, which was a good thing in this game. City played a very high-risk, high-reward strategy, but it worked. What would happen in this game if Real Madrid were trying to force the ball out wide is if it went out to, say, Dani Carvajal, then Akanji, who was left back on the day, would press really, really high against Dani Carvajal. And of course, in this instance, it'd be Josko Gvardiol, which I think bodes even better for City because he's a lot more quicker, younger and aggressive as well. So I think this whole system of smothering opposition is really the best way for City to go. It's very high octane, risky, but I think it actually exerts the most control both off the ball and on it with the wingers. Now let's talk about on the ball. Like I mentioned earlier, the profile of Bernardo Silva and Grealish is very different to that of Savinho and 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗏𝗏. Now Real Madrid lose the ball here with a wayward pass. Bernardo Silva nicks it off Toni Kroos. And then what does he like to do here, Bernardo? Well, he's not the quickest, so he takes it to the byline, and then he instantly looks to recycle it. And you can see here, I know that this is a touchline image, but Kyle Walker's about to receive the ball, and Vinicius Jr. is pressing high behind him. That three-man press and attempted smothering of both Bernardo Silva and Kyle Walker is instantly bypassed because Rodri, and in this case it could easily be 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 or Gundogan or 𝗦𝗶𝗴𝗍𝗏, is free on the edge of the penalty area. And then another sequence of play as well here. Bernardo Silva on the ball again on the right-hand side, and like I said, these wingers, Grealish and Bernardo, they love to recycle the ball. In the space of 3 seconds, it's passed to 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗓 and then switched all the way over to Jack Grealish. And the resulting cross and Haaland header somehow didn't end up in the net. But the point is, when you're going left to right, or one side of the pitch to the other and vice versa, you're constantly moving that back line, and then you're just looking for that little pocket. And the reason, let's go back to the proposed lineup that I've put De Bruyne and Foden in the 8 is simply that these are the difference makers, the players with that X factor. Foden's great in tight spaces. De Bruyne only needs a bit of space to get a shot or a cross off as well. So they're the difference makers in that pocket that, if found when we're going one side to the other, we can pick apart opposition and beat them that way. But I really just think without Rodri, like, look, you know how good he is, I know how good he is. It's very, very hard to find a system where City are going to be defensively better or more sound without Rodri. It's just not going to be the case. I think Pep's going to have to look at this team this season now, especially with how good Haaland's playing. We've not even touched on him. And really think that they're going to have to outscore opponents. City have conceded against Ipswich, West Ham, Brentford, and of course twice against Arsenal this season. So already they've not been great defensively, but they are top of the league. So I think Pep's going to have to look at this and think more of the same. Yeah, because, I mean, how do you shore up a defensive system that doesn't include Rodri? Anyway, guys, yes, that was a very, very desperate video for me to make. I'm still grieving, to be honest. And just, you know, from a fan's perspective, listen, if you're watching this and you're an Arsenal fan or even a Liverpool fan who've been doing very well so far, I'd secretly be very, not celebratory of Rodri's misfortune, but I'd be relieved because it's a blessing for your football clubs that this man is out, because it makes things a lot more interesting in terms of the title race. And I think it gives both Liverpool and Arsenal a lot more of a chance. Let's not beat around the bush, because City are going to be worse for this injury. Yeah, so guys, don't forget to subscribe. I've been Adam Monk. Have a lovely evening or day or morning whenever you decide to watch this video. And yes, Premier League is back this weekend, so we'll see what happens and see what Pep cooks up. Of course, the man is ill and he'll already have a solution. But until then, guys, take care. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.